Ladies and gentlemen, this is an article that came out January 1st, 2019 in The Verge. FCC, most operations will be suspended Thursday if partial government shutdown continues. So, look like the FCC will be shutting down if nothing is resolved. And you got both the Democrats and Trump not budging on the situation when it comes down to the wall. The Dems already said they are not funding the wall. Trump says he's holding out until he gets his wall money. So don't look like this is going to end soon. And ladies and gentlemen, those of you that are looking forward to income tax, this is going to be impacted. These federal employees are not going to issue out checks, and their asses are not getting paid. I can tell you they're going to sit on all of those refunds. They don't care how backed up it gets. And we have seen years. If you've been around long enough, you have seen years where these checks got backed up, and sometimes the waiting period is way longer than normal. So you can just anticipate that as we're moving along and this thing is not resolved. The FCC will wind down its operations on Thursday if the partial federal government shutdown isn't resolved by then. Should it lapse funding, funding not to be restored, the commission says all FCC activities will cease as of midday Thursday, January 3rd. That's only tomorrow, other than those immediately necessary for the protection of life or property, performing other accepted activities, or those funded through a source other than lapsed appropriations. The vast majority of the FCC's employees would be sent home on furlough if this plan is implemented, with under 20% continuing to show up for work alongside the commission's leaders. Okay, so this is what they tweeted out December 31st, 2018 from the FCC. So they're just letting the public know, FCC to suspend operations midday Thursday if federal funding lapse continues. Okay, and they just send you to a government link. For electronic makers, the most immediate effect of the FCC suspending operations would be a pause in testing and approval of for new devices during the furlough period. But the move also impacts consumers, broadcasters, and businesses, and most of all, the federal workers being furloughed. Even if operations are partially suspended, the FCC will retain employees to ensure that auctions like those for 5G spectrum aren't disrupted. What happens if the FCC suspends most of its operations? The FCC has laid everything out in its plan for an orderly shutdown. The commission says all of its below duties will be halted if its employees must be furloughed due to the partial federal government shutdown, which has now stretched on for more than a week. Yeah, you're right. I believe this is day 11, y'all. Consumer complaint and inquiry phone lines cannot be answered. So there's no point in you calling the FCC. Nobody's going to answer. Consumer protection and local competition enforcement must cease. License services, including broadcast, wireless, and wireline, must cease. Management of radio spectrum and the creation of new opportunities for competitive technology and services for the American public must be suspended. Equipment authorizations, including those bringing new electronic devices to American consumers, cannot be provided. This winding down of operations would take around 4 hours, according to the FCC. Of the 1,442 employees on board, before any partial shutdown plan is activated, just 245, around 17%, would remain working once it's put into place. Over 200 contractors would also be kept on. All right, so they're just laying out their plan in the event that this is not resolved by Thursday. And ladies and gentlemen, it is a great chance that it won't, at the rate that we are seeing right now. They are literally at a stalemate in Washington. And I just don't see that changing, not unless something miraculous happens this week, which I don't see happening with these folks just returning back to their jobs in Washington. And you have to think about the Democrats are trying to end the shutdown without introducing any funding for the wall. And you know Trump is not going to approve that. And even if they got all the votes for it, it'll probably be DOA by the time it reaches the Senate, which is majority Republican. So I would say just anticipate the FCC being shut down, and those of you that want to keep your phone numbers private, you just want to go on their site and put in things like your cell phone and your home line to make sure you don't get those frivolous sales calls. Those things will happen. Trump and the Democrats are currently locked in a battle over federal funding. The president is adamant that any deal to end the furlough include money for his border wall project. Democrats take over the House on Thursday. That's how I know this is not going to be resolved Thursday. Many of these people are being sworn in this week. There's no way they're going to get anything done, especially as far as this government shutdown is concerned. The day the FCC says it might have to curtail most operations, and are reportedly planning to introduce legislation to reopen the government without funding the wall. ABC News estimate about 800,000 employees are already affected by the ongoing situation. The FCC made similar preparations during the partial federal government shutdown in January 2018. But the shutdown ended before the plan had to be implemented. Hopefully, the same thing happens here. However, no clear resolution in sight this time. The commission might have to follow through. Trump has invited 8 lawmakers to the White House on Wednesday to discuss the ongoing shutdown and border wall, according to Politico. FCC employees would be expected back at work the next day after any deal is fully restored, to fully restore the government is reached and the furlough ends. So furlough means these FCC employees will not be getting paid. So it is just like similar to when you downsize a department, you still have like a skeletal crew that's working. And that's what it sounds like. The 245 people are like a skeletal crew that will be keeping the operations going partially, while the other employees will be at home with no paycheck and bills to pay. This actually wouldn't be a big deal, but a lot of our people in our community are government workers. So they will definitely be impacted by this, and already are for the 11 days this has been going on. But please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I will see you on the next video. Peace, family.